Hi, welcome to Riders of a Certain Age presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. I'm your host, Fran Severn. Each Tuesday, I chat with people whose lives center around horses in unusual, unexpected ways. These are people who create the richness and variety of the equine world with their fascinating careers, hobbies, and livelihoods. Their stories show their passion for horses and the equine world, and it is a treat for me to share them with you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Conversations Beyond the Barn. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Riders of a Certain Age presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. My name's Fran Severn, and I'm your host. Today's topic is It's Never Too Late for Horses. I'm here to talk about the equestrian world for older riders, particularly women. You ask yourself, who is this woman? What makes her an expert? I am the author of Riders of a Certain Age, Your Guide to Loving Horses Midlife and Beyond, and several other books, Creating Your Journey, The Book of Barn Hacks, Barn Fires Presenting a Disaster. But I wrote Riders first. I am one of those people. I did not have a chance to ride regularly until I was well into my 50s. Riders came out in April of 22, and it set me up for a really interesting ride of sorts professionally. Interviews, podcasts with horse-centric outlets like Dressage Today, Horse Network Reads, and We Love Arabian Horses. I've attended and been a presenter at the Equine Affair in Massachusetts and Ohio, Horse World Expo, Southern States Equine Expo in Tennessee, as well as horse shows and smaller events. I started a Facebook group called, no surprise, Riders of a Certain Age. What else? We have over 33,000 members around the world. We share photos and stories about ourselves and our horses, trade information and advice, and have a really wonderful supportive sorority. I've also been interviewed by some non-horsey podcasts like Not Older, Better, which is a podcast for the Smithsonian. It also won the award for the Best Inspirational Book at the Equus International Film and Arts Festival. That's pretty cool. When I won that award, I never really thought of riders of a certain age as inspirational, but it really is. The underlying message is that we can do whatever we decide we want to do, pretty much, regardless of our age. So, in regard to horses, think about your own background. Were you around horses your entire life? Were you involved when you were younger, but jobs, school, family, and life in general got in the way? Were you around horses all this time, but your role changed? Were you out of the saddle because you were now a show mom or a barn mom? And then how many of us were never around horses, but always dreamed of them? And now you are either returning to horses or getting into the horse world for the first time. You are not alone. We are not alone. And what is exciting is that we, riders of a certain age, are a force in the horse world. The fastest growing segment of the recreational horse world is women over 55. So if you are there, or getting near there, or past there, you are part of a special and influential group. I fall into the category of always wanted to, but never had the chance. My Aunt Alice, and you better say the British version, was always a horsewoman. Now, how a lower level working class girl from East Baltimore managed to get in with the My Lady's Manor steeplechase bunch is a mystery, but there you are. She traveled in very different circles from the rest of the family, and we did not see her very often. But she had a farm, and when I was about 2, we visited her, and she decided I should meet a horse. This is probably the first time I ever saw a horse. It is certainly the first time I ever sat on one. And while it was decades before I sat in the saddle again, I was in my 20s and had my first job after college, I was infected with that horse virus. Because let's face it, it's in our DNA. I am convinced that you are either born loving horses or you are not. And if you are infected, or affected, you arrange your life to accommodate that. I feel sorry for those who missed out on that particular cosmic lottery. When I was starting out in my career, I turned down a really good job in Ohio for a mediocre position in Louisville, Kentucky, because, well, Louisville, come on. I was in my 50s before I could start riding regularly. Now, I was lucky because I always found good instructors. But even with that, starting something as monumental as horseback riding is daunting. You have questions. Am I too old? Am I fit enough? What about my aches and pains? Can I really learn something new? At my age, can I do this? Should I do this? So I joined a lot of groups on Facebook. A lot of groups. These are just a few of them. There are at least a dozen others. And I saw the same questions and topics showing up again and again. Some of the answers were great, but others made me cringe. Now, I'm a researcher and a reporter by training, and I wanted to make sure that the answers people were getting were reliable and correct. So, during COVID, while the rest of the world was baking sourdough bread and binging Yellowstone, I wrote Writers of a Certain Age because there was nothing else out there that addressed the questions and concerns of this emerging group of horsewomen. And in answer to all the questions of can we do this? The answer is yes. See, the interesting thing right now is that nobody's really too sure what to do about us. What we can do, how we can do it. All the research and the studies in the past focused on younger people, usually men, and not about what healthy adult women can do. No generation has lived as long as we have. And as science progresses, and our lives are physically and materially easier thanks to technology, usually, we are a whole new field of study. Researchers never used to pay a lot of attention to us. It was assumed that once we hit retirement age, we want to play bingos, spoil our grandkids, maybe take a carnival cruise, but whatever we did, it would be sedentary. We'd be somewhat simple, dear little things who were just putting in time until we died. Now, maybe because those researchers are getting closer to our age, that's changing. Our demographic, 60 and above, are pushing aside those boundaries, and society and science are taking a closer look at just what we can do. Maybe because some of those researchers are getting close to Social Security age themselves, they're paying more attention to us and to our abilities. Society is starting to realize that those Gen whatevers are not the only people out there. Businesses recognize that we have disposable income, we are fit, we have time, we are reliable customers, we're not necessarily swayed by the latest trend, and we have interests that the kids don't have, and they are responding. Rhodes Scholars is a travel company that caters to older people. There are several companies that cater now to solo women travelers of all ages. Many companies of all types offer senior discounts. Schools offer free or discounted tuition and fees for adults taking classes as continuing or non-credit options, and some schools offer free tuition for seniors for credit classes. I live in Delaware, and the University of Delaware does that. We are seeing movies and TV shows that have older people in leading roles that focus on us and our experiences in positive ways. More and more books feature elderly protagonists. The Thursday Murder Club is a series about a bunch of 80-year-olds in a retirement village who solve complex mysteries. It's being made into a movie. The Swedes seem to have a corner on this angle. There's a series of books, and they're delightful, about residents of a pensioner's home who commit bank robberies to finance their recreational activities. Alice Stevens Barton has a series of award-winning books about a group of women who rode together as teenagers, drifted apart, and get together now that they are older. The stories are fun, horsey reads, but they also take a lot of the issues and complications that we face. Very readable. They're called the Silver Cowgirls. Now, sometimes we worry that we can't adjust to the new demands as we start something as out of ordinary as riding. The term senior moment starts to creep up. Is forgetting to turn off the water a momentary glitch or the first signs of dementia? All the evidence says that we are fine. Barring illness or accidents, Our mental capacity stays strong. We might be slower on the uptake. We might need a time or two to thoroughly assimilate the information, but once we get it, it is locked in. What does change is our willingness to and our ability to examine and explore and accept new ideas and concepts. There's a certain amount of us that says, my mind is made up, don't bother me with facts. It can also reflect a lifetime of experience and wanting to stay what's always worked with the attitude of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, research shows without a doubt that people who are mentally and physically active are healthier, have sharper mental skills, a more positive outlook on life. They recover more quickly from physical problems and emotional disappointments, and they live longer. That life is not just more days, but a higher quality of life. And that's one of those findings and conclusions that has me saying, duh. One concern older riders have is whether an instructor wants to take on an older person, particularly a beginner. We worry that, well, we're slower, we don't know that much about horses, we're going to be a bother. So I posed that question to a couple of Facebook groups for instructors, and their answer was a resounding, yes, we love you. We are dedicated, we are respectful, we are interested in learning how to do things properly, and we will put in the time and effort to do so. It may take us longer to understand a concept or to master a muscle memory, but once we do, it is locked in. We are more interested in having fun than in competing, so for the instructors, the lessons are a lot less pressured. We don't bring a lot of baggage with us, so there's not a lot of drama from angst-ridden teenagers or show moms, and what's really appreciated, we pay on time. Some stables actively recruit older riders and plan riding times just for them. They have happy hours, little wine after a ride, or they get together after to do things other than ride. Maybe they go to lunch or plays or local festivals. That companionship is an important aspect of social and mental health, and riding delivers that in many ways. Having said that, if you can, ride with the kids, especially group lessons. Their enthusiasm is infectious, and most of them don't really care that you're an old lady. They are so in love with horses that you're just another cool person playing with them. A lot of riding lessons for beginners are just games and fun anyway, so it's no ego, just play. Now, this segment is called Fran Covers Her Butt. Before you begin any new physical activity, be sure to visit your primary care provider for a professional evaluation of your physical condition and recommendations. If you are on Medicare, you're supposed to get an annual checkup anyway, so do it. But don't be surprised if your doctor's reaction is, have you lost your mind? That is the old mindset that we should be sedentary, docile, boring. However, give the benefit of the doubt here. Horseback riding is an activity with inherent risks and variables that we cannot control. Listen politely, take those concerns seriously, and then react accordingly. But seriously, on the serious side, fitness is important, especially as the warranty on our bodies expires. It is critical that as we get older, we maintain as much flexibility, balance, and strength as we can. Deterioration of our joints, bones, and muscles is normal and inevitable. Our bones become more fragile. A fall that a few years ago would have resulted in a few bruises is much more serious now. And those are the normal stumbles around the house. These are the normal stumbles around the house. Off a horse? As Roy Rogers said, when you're young and you fall off a horse, you may break something. When you're my age and you fall off, you splatter. There are things that you can do to make that less likely. Resistance training, weight-bearing exercises, Tai Chi, that is highly recommended if you have osteoporosis. The newest confirmed activity is weight training with barbells or bar plates, weight plates. This is especially useful for women in their 70s. It has been shown to reverse osteoporosis in some cases. And this is a weight-bearing exercise and activity that strengthens bones and encourages regrowth. One of the best overall exercises is Pilates. This works on your core, your posture, your strength, and your flexibility. Another advantage of strengthening your core and your lower abs, it helps a lot with the dribbles. You ladies know what I mean. Our vision starts to go, particularly our peripheral vision. We compensate by leaning forward and staring a few feet in front of our feet. Now our center of gravity is off. If we are leaning forward, we are less steady, less balanced, and less likely to recover if something throws us off. The statistics are grim. 1 out of every 4 people over the age of 65 falls each year, and hip fractures are the most common break from those falls. You really need to concentrate on balance and core exercises. Fortunately, for riders, this is an easy thing because the proper walking position is, guess what? Pretty much the same as the proper riding position. Shoulders, elbows, hips, and knees in alignment and looking up and forward. Actually, it should be hips and ankles in alignment, looking up and forward. Almost daily, someone asks about riding with replacement parts, knees, hips, shoulders. In general, unless there is some other medical condition involved, there's no reason you can't return to riding after replacement surgeries, with a couple of caveats here. 2 things will help determine your recovery. Number one, prepare before the surgery. Do all of the exercises you are given. Do a lot of the leg, the thigh, the calf, the butt works out. Whatever you are told, do them. These are the muscles that will help support your new knee or whatever. Also, be diligent about doing that physical therapy. No, post-op is not fun, but that will help determine how rapidly and how well you recover. And lastly, don't push it. People post all the time saying, I'm going to ride again in 3 weeks, as though it's some kind of a contest to prove something. First off, your horse is going to know you're not 100% and will probably react accordingly. But your body has been through a serious, serious trauma. This is a major operation. It needs time to recover. And the older you are, the longer it takes. If your doctor says 3 months before normal activities, give it 4. Because he's thinking normal activity means grocery shopping, not hopping on a horse. The last thing you want to do is delay your recovery and have a relapse. And as I said, your horse is going to know if you're not okay. That's not going to be pleasant for either of you. So what do you do if you're not riding? Enjoy your horse on the crown. Do groundwork, do obstacles, do liberty. Sit there with a book and a long lead line in the pasture and just chill. That's another way to develop your relationship in a very positive way. So let's go back to the theme of this little chat. Are you ever too old for horses? Queen Elizabeth rode until 2 weeks before she passed. Now, her doctors had told her not to stop, but one does not give orders to the Queen. Then there's Connie Reeves. At the age of 101, she went for her daily ride on her lively horse, Dr. Pepper. He bucked when she asked for a canter, and he threw her. When the EMTs arrived, she reportedly said, somehow I had hoped my last dismount would not have been so dramatic. She had broken some bones and had a lot of trauma, and she did pass a few days later. But hey, I could go like that. What's that phrase about dying as a happy woman? The USDF, the U.S. Dressage Federation, has the Century Club. If a horse and rider team have a combined age of 100 or higher, they qualify if they ride in any dressage show at any level. And I think other organizations like the AQHA and the Arabian Horse Society or Association have similar ways of recognizing us. So that's something we already know. It is never too late for horses. So thank you for listening. Thank you for participating in Conversations Beyond the Barn. I hope I gave you good information and that you leave here inspired. See you next time. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Riders of a Certain Age presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. If you enjoy it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Please leave a comment and suggestions for future shows, guests, topics, interesting equine activities. I'd love to hear about them, so would everybody else. And while you're at it, you can support the podcast by buying me a coffee, patreon.com/certain age. Support Conversations Beyond the Barn. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.